Alright boys, welcome to BBR Week 2. Last week, Week 1 against Leo, which you can check out in the top right hand corner, we ended up winning. We got very unlucky, but we pulled through anyway. We got burned on our Annihilate. It was awesome. If you missed it, I highly recommend you check it out. That being said, we made some transactions moving into Week 2 that make our team look overall a little bit worse, but in my opinion, it makes me more comfortable. I mean, I guess my opinion's the only one that matters at the end of the day. It makes me more comfortable with the team. However, that being said, I do regret a couple of Pokemon, but we'll talk about that in just a second. We're facing Panther this week, and if you don't know who Panther is, he's the founder of the APA, and he's one of the main reasons that I am as into Draft League as I am currently. He's awesome, a really good friend of mine. That being said, last week said I wouldn't have very much time to prep this week. I was a liar. I actually had plenty of time. Shout out to Obo and Keegan a little bit, I guess, for helping me prep. Keegan didn't really do anything. Did Keegan do anything? No, Keegan didn't do anything. Shout out to Obo for helping me prep. Next week is going to be the week that I don't have a lot of time because I'm going to be on vacation. So just a heads up, the content's going to be a little slow next week, but past that, I'm not burnt out anymore, so I'm going to get really back into making content. Enough of the chatter, let's go ahead and jump into Panthers team. Well, actually first, let's jump into our team with the transactions. LATIOS, Annihilate, Scizor, Weavile, and Andy Shock stayed. We traded out Diancie, Manaphy, Weezing, and I don't even remember the last Pokemon. For Compe, Skarmory, Big Man, the Overquill. Drop some big mans in the chat. Sunday, throw up that emote on screen. You can become a channel member as low as 99 cents a month. And then Araquanid. So the Pokemon that I regret are Compe and Araquanid. After prepping for this matchup, both are damn near unusable Pokemon. They are so weak and not fun to use. And there might be another transaction. I have one left, so we might trade one of them out for something else again. Panthers team is going to be Excadrill, Cinderace, Keldeo, Weezingale, Raikou, Salamence, Articuno Galar, Tyranitar, Quag, and Appletip. Out of these Pokemon, the two that I'm very ill prepared for because I do not think they will come are going to be Articuno Galar and Appletip. For Articuno, I have like Andy Shock's Weavile, Overquill. I don't think Articuno makes a ton of sense. You could use it as a secondary check to LATIOS maybe, but even then I could potentially boost past you if I'm a Calm Mindset. So Articuno doesn't make the most sense to me. And then Appletip, I also have quite a bit for. We have Weavile, even LATIOS, we have Overquill, Scizor. Doesn't make a ton of sense, but maybe there's some merit if he's super worried about Andy Shocks. As far as the other Pokemon, there are two Pokemon in particular that absolutely destroy me, Cinderace and Keldeo. Cinderace, I just don't really have a fire resist. It's Araquanid, and it's not a very good one, so he could just be banded, but I do think that Cinderace has a lot of utility in this matchup with Court Change, Willow, Taunt, and Super Fang, those 4 moves in particular, on top of Pyro Ball and on top of U-Turn. I think he's going to have 4 of those 6 moves, and I think he's probably going to be Boots. But if he brings Banded, man, hey, it makes sense. As far as Keldeo, I think Specs initially makes the most sense because my only water resists are going to be LATIOS and Araquanid, and you could just be a flip turn set until you deal with LATIOS, which you have some answers for, so I think that would make sense. Gives you momentum into things like Tyranitar to check the LATIOS. I also think Calm Mind goes crazy, and it's very hard for me to deal with once he gets going, but I could just be Psyshock LATIOS, so he will have to be wary about that. And either way, he's going to have Vacuum Wave for Weavile, more than likely. He's going to have like Flip Turn, Vacuum Wave, Hydro, and Secret Sword if he specs. And if he's Calm Mind, he could be like Calm Mind, Taunt, Vacuum Wave, Surf, I guess. I'm not really sure. As far as the other Pokemon go, Excadrill I think comes, but it could be, a little bit of a forced bring. I have Skarmory, which walls it forever, and Araquanid can kind of do that. Araquanid at least forces Rock Slide, but once Skarmory is down, Excadrill does very, very well into me. It could be a Swords Dance 3 attack set, Iron Head, Rock Slide, and Earthquake make the most sense. And I think that would be fine. He could also be, more of a defensive Excadrill to try to check the LATIOS. Maybe he could be an Assault Vest variant. Weezingale is a Pokemon that I think could come just because of how good it is physically defensively, excuse me. He's probably just a Rocky Helmet set for the Weavile with like Willow, Strange Seam, Flamethrower, Filler move. Did I say Strange Seam? Strange Steam? Raikou's alright here. Calm Mind, Scald, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch. It could be a Pivot, it could be a Calm Mind Sweeper. It's alright, but I think there are better Pokemon. Salamence gives me a lot of troubles because my fairy type is Comfey, and it's very bad. It does 30% to Salamence with a Draining Kiss. He can be like Weakness Policy if he really wanted to. Weakness Policy Dragon Dance could be scary. Or the set that I'm very afraid of, Special. Special Specs or Life Orb does very well into me. And the thing with Dragon Dance as well is he has to be wary of the fact that I have Ice Shard on Weavile. And Special Salamence also just makes a ton of sense because he can weaken the Skarmory for the Excadrill if that's the route he wants to go. Tyranitar does poor, but if you bring Excadrill, you probably want Sand, but maybe not. Maybe you're an AV Excadrill and you don't think you need the Sand here, which would totally make sense. And then Quagsire is like the least likely of all of the Pokemon that I say have the capability to come. It kind of makes sense. You can like kind of stop my sweepers, but Latios Luster Purge kind of invalidates you. Weavile can even push past you. Quag is like fine. Maybe you want to get like hazard stuff like spikes or T-spikes, but overall there are probably 6 better Pokemon. He could try to stop anti-shocks with Quag, but even then I think you have better methods of doing so. I mean, not really, I guess. Maybe he does bring Quag, I don't know. As far as the team we're bringing, the title did not lie to you, probably. I actually don't know what the title is. We're Keyberry LATIOS. And I did a lot of mocks with Obo, a lot, like 5 maybe, and I determined that Specs was probably better with Flip Turn. However, this sets heat, and I think it has the capability to work, and I think if I can set it up properly, it will work. So we're going to be Keyberry LATIOS. So we get the defense boost on potentially the targets are Flip Turn on Keldeo. We can switch it in and get that defense boost as he Flip Turns, does no damage, and all of a sudden we're a +1 defense LATIOS that is super hard to break. Or if he wants to use Cinderace to try to break us, which makes a lot of sense, he U-turns. I don't expect him to be banded. He does like 60, still a lot with U-turn, and then we get the Keyberry, and he cannot really break us unless he's a Sword Stance variant. Past that, we're Recover for longevity, Calm Mind to set up in the face of things like Keldeo, Stored Power because it's very free, 1 Calm Mind into the Keyberry already makes it 80 base power, so better than Psychic or Luster Purge in my opinion, and then Aura Sphere to hit Tyranitar on top of Excadrill. We're enough speed to outspeed Adamant Excadrill, not necessarily needed, but still pretty nice because I do think he's probably Adamant given the matchup. And then we're max Biz Depth with a rock-friendly number of HP. This set can go crazy. We need to set it up in the late game. This is going to be the primary win con on how we aim to win this game. The next set is going to be Annihilate. We are very, very weak to Keldeo, and there's not very much counterplay on our entire team. Originally, I had a lead Rest Talk Mono Rage Fist with Bulk Up set, and it did very well. However, I kept losing to Keldeo. I don't like that. So Assault Vest Annihilate can pretend to be a Keldeo check. We can switch in, take 2 Hydros after Rocks and Sand. That's what our special defense investment is for. And then we get the Rage Fist boost. If he Flip Turns, we get the Rage Fist boost regardless. And we can kind of use this as that temporary switch in. We can switch in once, kinda. We don't have great Keldeo counterplay. U-turn for momentum, Drain Punch for longevity, Rage Fist is obvious, the best move on this Pokemon, and then Ice Punch to catch a potential special Salamence off guard and OHKO it potentially. And we're going to be Inner Focus instead of Defiant because I don't think you bring Intimidate Salamence. I'd be shocked to see you bring Intimidate Salamence. Inner Focus still blocks Intimidate if he is, just in case, and it also prevents us from being flinched because there might be some situations where the only way he beats Annihilate is if he flinches it with like Keldeo Air Slash or Excadrill Iron Head, things like that. We have some protection against that. We can take a +2 Excadrill Earthquake, and then I already said the Keldeo Calc, and then we went enough speed to outspeed Adamant Tyranitar. It might be Jolly Tyranitar, I don't remember, I didn't write it down, and we went the rest into attack. This Pokemon does a lot of damage to our opponent. We had stacked Rage Fist, and we can make it very difficult to switch into this Pokemon. Weezingallor is another Pokemon that can switch in on this easily, so we do have to keep that in mind. Next up, we've got Weavile. We're going to be just boost this week because Hazard Stack's very possible into us, and we're going to be Swords Dance, Ice Shard, Triple Axle, and Knockoff. Knockoff is extremely free. Triple Axle is extremely free. We knock off the potential Weezingallor's Rocky Helmet as he comes in, and then we can Triple Axle like it's nothing. And then Ice Shard gives us some sort of leverage against the Salamence on top of the Excadrill, potentially in the late game. I could have Low Kick on here to deal with things like the Tyranitar or the Excadrill, but I felt like Swords Dance was a little bit better. It was a little bit more consistent because I can't hit Excadrill and Sand, obviously, and Tyranitar is usually not going to stay in on Weavile knowing that I have the potential to have Low Kick. We're a pretty standard set. We are enough speed to outspeed Cinderace, and we are the rest in attack with a rock-friendly number of HP. Doesn't matter. I mean, rest in HP. This Pokemon is primarily going to be used as a revenge killer, but it can be used as a breaker if he doesn't bring Weezing or he doesn't bring sufficient counterplay to Weavile in general. But we would like to keep this guy in the back to make sure that we constantly have an option to outspeed that Cinderace that gives us such a hard time. And we also have to keep in mind that Keldeo gets Vacuum Wave. That Pokemon is very, very good into it. Next up, we're going to have Skarmory, and I'm going to be honest with you, this Pokemon is not very good outside of checking Excadrill. If we do not see Excadrill or we do not see Tyranitar to enable the Excadrill, Skarmory is not really needed. This Pokemon does not do great outside of the Excadrill. We can take 2+2 Rock Slides with our defense investment with the rest in the special defense. We have Roost for longevity, Whirlwind to prevent setup on things like Excadrill itself, or Salamence if he wants to get greedy and set up in our face, and then Brave Bird plus Body Press hit the majority of his team. Brave Bird for Keldeo, Body Press for Excadrill and Tyranitar. If we do not see Tyranitar, we do not see Excadrill, this is our number 1 sack beast. This doesn't really have that much purpose. Maybe if he's a physical DD Salamence, which doesn't make a lot of sense into my team. But past that, Skarmory's pretty useless. And I'm going to spoil it, wanted Araquanid in this slot, but Araquanid sucks. It doesn't beat Excadrill. Rock Slide's obviously free. It doesn't beat Cinderace. He can 2-hit KO with the banded U-turn, or damn near close to it without band. And it doesn't beat Keldeo, because Keldeo can sub on us and boost past us. We have to be like max attack to break a sub. It's horrible. Araquanid is not good. So unfortunately, we have Skarmory here. Would it have been over Skarmory? I don't know, but I felt like this was the proper time to mention that Araquanid was thought of, not brought. Next up, we're going to have Andy Shocks. This is going to be probably our lead depending on the 6 Pokemon he brings. If we see Quag, we'll probably have to pivot around with what our lead might be. But this set goes crazy. We're booster speed with enough speed to outspeed Salamence at a potential +1. So it gives us another way to potentially deal with that. Then we have dual screens, because you know me, I love screens. Screens makes this game so much easier. We do have to be mindful that the Cinderace can potentially court change, but past that, screens are so good, and we're not Light Clay, so even if he steals our screens, they're not going to last for very long. He has no switch-ins, 0 resist to dual stats on his entire side of the field. We just kind of have to get some predictions right. If he has like AV, Excadrill, he could switch Harden on a Thunderbolt, and that wouldn't be fun. But screens are going to make it very easy for us to get not only Annihilate in to get Rage Fist boost, but also get our Latios in the in-game. And because Panther has very few switch-ins to this Pokemon in general, this is a lead, puts him in a lot of bad positions really early on. And I actually wasn't leading with this. I was leading with Annihilate super early, and I felt like it wasn't really getting me anywhere. As soon as I started leading this, I started consistently winning the mocks. So I'm really hoping that Andy Shocks is able to put in the work off lead. We can live 2 banded Cinderace Pyro Balls through a screen. We can live a +1 Raikou Scald, and then we put the rest into special attack. This guy's here to do damage. Did we need to live that Raikou calc? Probably not, but I'm gonna stick with it. And then lastly, we have Big Man to Overquill. It might say spikes on your screen, because I might forget to update Sunny that it's no longer spikes. We're Assault Vest, and I switched the very last second to Assault Vest from Rocky Helmet. Originally, we were a Cinderace check, but I was losing to Salamence consistently in the box, so we went Assault Vest. We also tried out Comfey for this slot. It did not do good. Comfey is very, very bad. We have Assault Vest to help us with not only special Salamence, but to also try to mitigate a little bit of that responsibility from Annihilate on Keldeo. We have right now Jet for priority, Gunk for just unresisted damage into most of his team, Liquidation for the things that do resist that, and then right now we're last Self-Destruct. It might change, I don't know. I couldn't find something that I like better than Self-Destruct, so we're sticking with that right now. I believe we can live 2 Salamence Hurricanes after Sand Chip with our special defense investment in the AV. I believe we have enough physical defense to live 2 banded Cinderace Pyro Balls after the Intimidate drop, but I might be incorrect on that. And then we went the rest into Attack Adamant. Again, we might change that last slot. I might forget to update Sunny, so it might say spikes on the screen. Not sure what it could be, but we're going to look into it. With that being said, guys, that is going to be the team. The whole idea of the team is to get Latios in a position to win this in the in-game. We kind of have to just survive until then. His team puts us in very bad spots with his pivoting between Cinderace and Keldeo, so we have to try to not let him overwhelm us with that momentum. Shout out to Sunny for editing this video. Like I said, this next week, extremely busy for me. I'm going to be on vacation, so I really do appreciate Sunny editing this video. Everybody say thank you, Sunny, in the chat. If you watched this far, go ahead and leave a like, man. I really appreciate you. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.